Everybody, how are we doing today? It is Rockfish34, and today I'm going to be showing you how to blackfish from shore. The most important part is that you're fishing rocks. If you're not going to fish the rocks, you're not going to catch anything. I see right here that I hook up. You don't really notice the bites on the pole. The blackfish bite is very subtle, it's tat 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 tat, and then you wait for just something a little bit heavier. You gotta be quick on the hook, tighten your drag down, get them out of the rocks. There's no reason you should be pulling line. You should have your drag locked down, heavy lines, 50-pound leader, not only for the fish, but to prevent against abrasions on the rock. Now what I'm doing is I'm casting out to the right because it's an incoming tide. I'm letting it drift down with the tide onto the spot. Found this spot by just feeling my weight on the bottom and feeling a couple bites in that area and drifting around that area to see where they're most dense on that piece of structure. I'm gonna say that blackfishing is one of the hardest kinds on the Jersey Shore. You get snagged very often, you lose a lot of rigs, and the fish can be quite picky. Guys, on my rod tip, you're not gonna really see the bite, but I am gonna hook up here. My drag is too loose, and you're gonna see how that affects me in a couple seconds here. I'm gonna get snagged because the fish swims me in a rock, but there's something neat you can do. I let my line slack, and the fish swims out, and just like that, I'm back to fighting it. If the fish swims you in a rock, don't be scared to let slack line. Another thing is experimenting with different baits and different bait sizes. At first, I was using bigger Asian crabs and noticing that I wasn't really getting bites, and I switched to a smaller Asian crab, and the fish really preferred that. Don't be scared to use green crabs, rock crabs. Some people use shrimp. Just change it up. And there's a big difference between rigs and jigs. Fish some days just will not hit a jig, but they all hit a rig, and vice versa. Also, if you're not getting any bites in the spot, just cast in a slightly different area, like maybe 5 feet away from where you cast the last time. Just keep on walking down the rocks. But if you're not getting bites, there's not fish there. You should also change your bait out every 5 minutes or so, just keep the crab fresh, because the crab meat will wash out and lose all its scent very quickly. And here you can just see I'm getting a loop out of my reel. This is a pretty simple thing. Conditions I was fishing was a clear day. The wind didn't really seem to matter. I fished an east wind, a west wind, and a south wind. I was getting bites consistently. What did seem to matter a lot, though, was the tide. I was not catching fish on incoming tide. On outgoing tide, I caught a little bit. But what was interesting is that on slack tide is when I was having the best fishing. And the reason for this is because when it's slower moving water, not only do the bigger fish come out, and it's easier for them to feed, but more fish come out because they won't really try to feed in a current, but when the water's slow, they come out a lot more often. See me measuring this fish. Keeper size New Jersey is 15 inches. Right now, this time of the year, you're only allowed to keep one fish per person. And I want you to watch the rod tip. You're going to see a barely anything little, and I'm on. This is because the blackfish, first they'll just chew it a little bit to try to crack the shell, and then that last bigger of the bite thump, that's when you set the hook. Now when it comes to setting the hook on these fish, you have to be quick. If you're not, you're just going to miss the fish. They're going to take your bait, and a lot of the times you're not going to get the hooks out anyway because these fish have small mouths. Usually when you're blackfishing, there's a lot of pergola around as well, and those will steal your crabs. Another interesting thing on terms of bycatch is on the hotter months, I actually had a cow-nosed ray bite my line, and I thought I caught it on camera. I couldn't find it on my SD card, but it was pretty cool to see. The same thing with most fishing, you really want to try to limit as heavy of a weight you're using as possible. You want to use the lightest weight possible, just to make sure you're getting down, holding bottom. And that's the basics. Go into it with an open mind. You're going to get snagged a lot. You're going to break off on a lot of rigs, and you're going to say that this sucks. And right here, you're going to see another thing that is interesting. You're going to see that instead of getting a bite, I actually just reeled down onto the fish, and that's because of this fish hit my bait on the drop instead of having it on the bottom. And they do that somewhat often. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time.